following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
By the way, there was a sign. It said Lucha Libre Wrestling Translation Bathroom Break. I was a little offended. Okay, I get it. Lucha Libre Wrestling is not for everybody, but how rude is that sign? I get it if you want to do women's wrestling equals bathroom break, but these are men we're talking about. So disrespectful to these men.
For some reason, having your foot on the ropes breaks up a pin in an anything goes match.
Anything goes, except you get rope breaks.
You can blind this motherfucker with a chair, but he has his foot on the ropes.
And then the question becomes, what happens if I don't break the count?
You don't want to be booing for me. Don't boo me. Don't you boo me. Crowd continues to boo. All right, let me give you a reason to boo. Come on. And he just begins to stomp on Rey Mysterio's fucked up knee while encouraging the crowd to boo him even more. The only fair and reasonable thing to do for Piper is to put the belt around Hogan's waist right now. Not. Well, I guess that brings us to our Wrestling Rewind. And this week is WCW Sold Out 1998. Well, we start off with a shot of Eric Bischoff standing in a candlelit room. It's like he's Michael Bolton or something. Audio cuts in. WCW is making the NWO put up $1.5 million performance bond for Giant versus Nash. Then it cuts to Bischoff still standing there, and he says he's building the greatest empire. Then a projector plays, and Giant's cutting a promo, and we learn that along with the $1.5 million bond, Giant cannot lay hands on Nash until Sold Out. Bischoff then says he's looking for more souls to buy. Giant does another promo, says he just wants Nash to show up. And then Bischoff says, hell hath no fury like Sold Out. And to me, it's like they spliced two ideas together, and it didn't work. So then we go to Dayton, Ohio. Dusty Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, and Bobby the Brain Heenan are on commentary. Tony's excited for Nash versus Giant. He confirms that Nash is in the building, and Giant hasn't kicked his ass yet. Tony's also excited for Bret Hart versus Ric Flair, as am I. Then we have Heenan. He says that Flair's the 13-time World Heavyweight Champion, and Hart is from the most prestigious wrestling family. He simply can't pick a winner. Tony then lets us know an announcement will be made regarding the World Heavyweight title and its future. Dusty says, Hollywood, if you will, and Bischoff expect Piper to just hand him the title belt. They believe that will happen, but only time will tell. Very prolific words from Dusty. Kind of makes my stomach sink that neither one of the three men just outright said it was bullshit at the idea of Hogan just getting handed the title belt.
Well, he did pin Sting.
I get that. He pinned Sting twice.
Was it twice?
Yeah, he did the same shit on the following Nitro.
Oh. Ran it back.
Yeah. So the first match of the evening is Juventud Guerrera, Liz Mark Jr., Chavo Guerrero Jr., and Super Calo versus the team of La Parca, El Dandy, Silver King, and Psychosis. This is an 8-man tag Lucha Libre rules match.
Love some El Dandy. What about Super Calo?
Oh yeah, he's my favorite. What's your favorite El Dandy match?
Probably this one. You know, he hit that suicide dive to perfection.
Right off the bat, the commentary team let us know that Lucha Libre rules in tonight's instance means it's going to be an outright clusterfuck. And apparently, if the legal man is out of the ring, anyone can just hop in. Keeping that in mind.
Yeah, they did that last time there was this cluster.
Did they have that stipulation? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just think they did it.
Well, so I just remember they mentioned it like halfway through. It's like, oh, okay. By the way.
So Super Calo and Psychosis start. They go back and forth for a bit. Calo runs up Psychosis in the corner and then hits a power slam. Lizmark and Silver King get a turn and they chop the fuck out of each other. Lizmark hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Silver King nails a spinning DDT. Chavo gets a blind tag. El Dandy gets tagged in as well. El Dandy looks like Jack Black. Looks like Jack Black.
Nacho Libre.
Yeah. Chavo hits a monkey flip from the corner. They go back and forth and spill out of the ring. Juventud Guerrera and La Parca take their place. La Parca just starts tap dancing, and Juventud backs off. And it was at this point, like, oh my God. So then they both baseball slide Chavo and El Dandy, preventing them from getting back in the ring. La Parca dances on the apron. Schiavone called Juventud Lizmark. That was fun. La Parca catches Juventud from a crossbody and then just starts dancing. And then he just puts him down. Hoovy hits a diving Frankensteiner to Laparca from the top rope, and he bails. Psychosis comes in and decapitates Hoovy with I believe it was a clothesline. Lizmark comes in to wipe out Psychosis. Then they try to tell us that because Hoovy is on the mat, they can just change partners without tagging. So they just move the goalpost mid-match. Lizmark hits a moonsault, does a stupid arm drag pin thing. El Dandy just replaces Psychosis, so they're not even fucking trying now at this point. It's so egregious that the commentary team says something. Heenan says, it's just like a bar fight. You can just walk in whenever you want.
Pretty much. There's no tag rules.
So Dandy tries to pin Lizmark, then Super Callow replaces Lizmark. Callow hits Dandy with an ankle scissors from the top rope. Silver King replaces Dandy. Silver King hits an airplane and a somersault leg drop. Hoovy replaces Callow. No tags. Not one fucking tag. Hoovy jumps on Silver King's shoulders and fucks up whatever he was trying to do. Then he hits his 450 splash. Laparca replaced Silver King. Laparca hits a sit-down powerbomb. Psychosis and Chavo replaced them. Like, he just did the move and then other people came in. He didn't even give him a chance to pin. The Psychosis hits Chavo with a guillotine leg drop, and he actually, at that moment, tags in fucking Laparca. And Laparca throws Chavo out of the ring. Silver King comes in. Laparca gets back on the apron. So Super Callow and Silver King can then fight. Callow hits a diving somersault to Silver King on the floor. El Dandy then does a suicide dive to Super Callow on the outside for some reason. Hoovy launches off Lizmark's back to launch his hip into El Dandy on the floor. He did Jeff Hardy's little hip thrust thing. And Laparca flips over Lizmark onto the apron, then moonsaults on everybody. Lizmark moonsaults on Laparca. Chavo hits Psychosis with a tornado DDT 1-2-3. After the match, Laparca beats the shit out of the good guys with a chair. Then he starts dancing. Then he beats the shit out of the remaining bad guys with a chair. Then he stands the chair up and dances on it. What the fuck?
Oh, that's just Laparca being Laparca, the chairman. By the way, there was a sign that the fan was holding up. It said Lucha Libre Wrestling Translation Bathroom Break.
I didn't get to that. That's a good sign.
Yeah, he was right there by the corner. I was a little offended. Like, okay, I get it. Lucha Libre wrestling is not for everybody, but I mean, how rude is that sign? I mean, I get it if you want to do like women's wrestling equals bathroom break, but these are men we're talking about. So disrespectful to these men.
I don't know. I kind of
And I
agree
wish
with
one
it.
of them slapped him, open-handed too.
I don't know. If it was like Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, then that doesn't make sense. But you got these fucking 8-man Lucha Libre tag matches that don't make a goddamn bit of sense. And they just do stunts.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're not for me, if I'm being honest, but so disrespectful, that guy.
No, I think you had a point.
The diving, like you could tell everybody was just lining up for their spot when they're diving outside. And then Laparca, he jumps over the ropes because no one was ready. And then everybody got up and got into position so he can do his thing.
I hate when they do that. It's so phony.
Yeah.
Well, then they advertised the Boston Brawl. This was interesting. It was an internet-only event. I believe it was the first one, too, which means WCW is like pioneers in this respect. But it was not recorded, so we can't watch it, unfortunately. But Sting versus Hogan in a cage was the main event. I think Sting won.
I think they said it was a listen-only.
Was it listen-only?
I think they said it was.
Okay.
But it was on the internet, but you can only listen to it.
Oh, I thought it was like a live stream.
No. There's no way they had the bandwidth back then. You
We can watch it.
The internet back then was
Yeah,
you had to take
right.
up the phone line. So that's 3 hours of no one calling you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't think about that. It was like $7.99 too, or some shit.
Yeah. It was a good price, but
yeah.
Would I have partaken? Probably not. Like, I'm not just listening. Now, if it was a live stream, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have
this
to go
is
back
also
and...
time it took like, what, it took like 8 hours to download music?
Sunny.
A song? One song? You had to leave it on overnight?
Was it a day? Yeah. Shit. I forgot about yeah. Really picked the songs you wanted.
Yeah. I remember like setting up like this whole list of songs I wanted, and then every night it's like, oh, can't do more than 10 or it ain't gonna finish.
And then take another day to burn the CD.
Yeah.
So we get Mean Gene Okerlund. Gene wants us to call the WCW hotline to find out who's backstage tonight. And he also will tell us the results of the matches as well.
Obviously after the show.
So he wants us to pay for that. And that's it. No interview or
Now,
nothing.
I do have questions. So if you're watching the show, because he's talking to people right there, oh, call the hotline and find this out. So that means you're watching the show too. I've heard that call to action. So why then would you need to call to get the results if you were watching it?
I say that every WCW pay-per-view review because that motherfucker just wants your money for no reason.
Well, this is the first time I heard him actually like, oh yeah, call after the show to get the results. But I'm watching. No, why would I need the results?
One pay-per-view, like 2 matches left. He's like, oh, call the WCW hotline to find out who's going to be in the main event.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Just dumb shit.
Like, I could just wait like 10 minutes and I'll know.
Right. Moving on, we have Raven versus Chris Benoit in a Raven's Rules match. Raven comes out with The Flock. Still no theme music, which I don't think he ever gets theme music. I'm not sure.
Yeah, WCW had a lot of no theme music people. Him, Giant, which that list doesn't sound long, but
I was waiting.
That doesn't sound long, but 2 people on the same roster.
Yeah, I wonder how they worked that out because that was Giant's thing.
Yeah.
David Pinsler, the ring announcer, lets us know that Raven is here per some sort of contract stipulation. And also the Flock is barred from ringside. So the Flock leaves and Raven grabs a microphone. It says, once again, society has tried to make me conform to its rules. They've left me all alone, but I've been left alone before. For weeks at a time as a child, I was friendless all through school. I don't need anyone. And Benoit, I don't fear your pain. I'll feast on it. Quote the Raven, nevermore.
When they were like, oh, the Flock is banned from ringside in a no DQ match, by the way. And Raven didn't even flinch. He was just like looking. Usually when the group gets kicked out, the person gets animated, but he was just like sitting there like, whatever.
Yeah, Raven doesn't sell shit. He's too cool for school.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, they're making me do my job. They're trying to make me conform to their rules. So Benoit comes out and Raven gets the jump on him immediately as he's getting into the ring. Raven just starts whipping Benoit into the steel guardrail. Raven gets Benoit in the ring, starts beating the shit out of him there, hits a couple snapmares and a couple knees. Raven tosses Benoit back out of the ring, grabs a chair, cracks Benoit in the spine with it. They get back in the ring. Raven snapmares Benoit into the steel chair with the bumpy side up. There's the smooth side and the bumpy side.
Yeah, I noticed they use that underside a lot.
Raven stands the chair up and does a running bulldog to Benoit on it. And for some reason, having your foot on the ropes breaks up a pin in an anything goes match.
Yes, anything goes except you get rope breaks.
Yeah, you can blind this motherfucker with a chair, but he has his foot on the ropes.
And then the question becomes, what happens if I don't break the count?
Raven goes for a drop toe hold to Benoit with the chair. Benoit, of course, reverses it, and Raven gets sent into the chair instead. Dusty said, there you go. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Mm-hmm. Both men get to their feet. Benoit starts firing up on Raven. Then he grabs the chair. Benoit snap suplexes Raven onto the chair. Then he rips Raven's shirt off and chops him. Then sets the chair up in the corner. Benoit chops the shit out of Raven in the corner. Raven leaves the ring. Benoit baseball slides Raven in the guardrail. Benoit throws Raven into the steel steps, starts beating the shit out of him on the floor. They fight on the entrance ramp. Benoit hits another suplex on the entrance ramp. He gets Raven back in the ring, suplexes him onto the chair again, stands over Raven with the chair, and then puts it on Raven's face before stomping on it. Then he does a diving headbutt to Raven while the chair is still over his head. So both men are knocked out. At least they did that, I guess.
Yeah, at least he sold it.
Looks like there's going to be a double count out. Benoit starts moving around 8 or so and covers Raven. Thank God that wasn't the finish. Benoit snatches Raven, goes for a Northern Lights suplex. Raven counters with his even flow DDT. Somehow Benoit recovers first and attempts a pin. Raven goes for another even flow. Benoit counters with a crippler crossface. So Raven's in the crippler crossface for a while. Then he just starts laughing, I guess, and he passes out. They do the 3-arm thing. Benoit is declared the winner. Benoit refuses to release the hold. Kidman comes out and starts climbing the top rope. Then Malenko comes out and puts Kidman in the Texas Cloverleaf. The Flock comes out and beats the shit out of Malenko and Benoit. Then Van Hammer carries Raven to the back. Then we cut back to the ring. Benoit is still down. And Malenko sends Sick Boy out of the ring with a kick. And it looks like Malenko may have single-handedly taken out the Flock by himself. I don't know.
Yeah, he fought off what was left of them.
Then we get Benoit and Malenko. They have a look of respect after the dust settles. And they go their separate ways. I thought this was a great match. And I'm glad that they saved the bullshit for after the bell.
Well, they were barred from ringside in a no DQ match. But yeah, I was with you there. When Benoit did the diving headbutt, I was like, oh, well, this is their way to not beat Raven or Benoit.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised that the match continued after that. And I was even more surprised that Raven lost. But he didn't tap out. He passed out.
Passed out while laughing.
Yeah, because he enjoys the pain.
God, Raven was so cool.
But yeah, I did like the match. He was so torn and demented.
He just had a lot of character. You like characters and story. That was Raven.
Yeah.
It didn't translate to in the ring because he won matches, but he wasn't, I don't know, he should have had like a title run or something. Or at least a title shot. Can you imagine the Flock versus the NWO?
That would have been something.
Right?
Oh, and it should be noted, Saturn was not out there.
Oh, he wasn't. Yeah.
So I guess they're already splitting him off.
I don't know what they're doing with him.
Well, it's still weird for me to see him with hair.
I seem to remember, because didn't he have to put on the dress because of Raven? Or was that WWE?
WWE?
Oh, okay. I thought he had to wear a dress or did he have a mop?
That was in WWE too.
So he wore God, they really fucked him.
I mean, maybe towards the end he was something, but in WWE, yeah, because he was part of the Radicals when they came in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, he got put in a dress and a mop as a lover. Where were you sticking it, by the way? Or the mop was sticking it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio Jr. It's for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Chris Jericho is a heel now. You can tell because he's wearing Rey Mysterio's shirt. Mysterio comes out with a knee brace. Shivani made a joke about Mysterio's pyro blowing him off the entrance ramp, because he's so tiny. Starts off with some back and forth. Mysterio levels Jericho with a right hook. Jericho's been playing big man the whole time, so his world just got rocked at that moment. Jericho hits a devastating shoulder tackle. Mysterio is able to use his agility to send Jericho out of the ring with a head scissor and regain the advantage. Mysterio teases diving out of the ring, but does a 619, but this jams his already injured knee up. Jericho tries to target the knee. Mysterio catches Jericho and locks him in a sleeper hold. Jericho fights out by standing Rey up on his shoulders, and Rey counters with a forward roll pin. Mysterio goes after Jericho and tweaks his knee again. Jericho stun guns Mysterio on the ropes. Then he pulls him out of the ring and does an underarm backbreaker because it's more devastating on the floor for some reason. Then he leaps off the steel steps to deliver a flying forearm. They get back in the ring. Jericho throws Mysterio knee first in the turnbuckle. Then he starts kicking him in the head while he's down. Mysterio hits an unprettier, then starts kicking Jericho's ass with one leg. Mysterio hits a somersault to Jericho on the floor. Again, fucks his knee up. So like every time he does a high risk maneuver, he fucks his knee up, and he doesn't even try to adjust how he wrestles to fit the injury.
Yeah, live by the sword, die by the sword, essentially.
So they brawl on the floor. Jericho gets pancaked on the steel steps. Mysterio throws Jericho back in the ring, goes for a Frankensteiner. Jericho runs into the ropes. It knocks Mysterio down and just fucks him up all sorts of ways. Jericho climbs the top ropes and tries to pull Mysterio up with him. Mysterio ends up crotching Jericho. Looks like he goes for a springboard Frankensteiner. Jericho latches onto him as they're falling down and turns it into a lion tamer. Rey taps immediately. There's no passing out for him. Jericho tells the ref to raise his hand. He poses with his new title, and he is now the 3-time Cruiserweight champion.
Yeah.
And Jericho grabs a mic. He says, hey, right now is the greatest moment of my life. After all that's happened, I've realized one thing about all of you people. You like me. You really, really like me. Crowd viciously boos Jericho. Hey, you don't want to be booing for me. Don't boo me. Don't you boo me. Crowd continues to boo. All right, let me give you a reason to boo. Come on. And he just begins to stomp on Rey Mysterio's fucked up knee while encouraging the crowd to boo him even more. Then he takes Mysterio's knee brace off and starts beating him with it. And then Jericho tosses Mysterio out of the ring, chains Mysterio's leg to the steel steps, grabs a giant steel TV camera box and smashes it into Mysterio's non-chained leg, which was his injured one. Medical staff comes out to help Rey. Jericho leaves, giving half-assed apologies. Somehow, the referee did not reverse the decision.
Yeah, I was a little bit expecting it because he was counting. But I would say for the most part, I enjoyed the match, the story that they told. Mysterio, he was hurting himself every time he did a move, but he couldn't stop it. And that turned out to be his downfall. So I did like that aspect of it.
Turn in the Frankensteiner and the Lion Tamer. I thought that was really creative.
Yeah, it was.
We have Mean Gene Okerlund. He's in the ring with J.J. Dillon. Dillon's holding the World Heavyweight title. Okerlund says, what Jericho did to Mysterio was fucked up, but I must say this. J.J. Dillon, 1997 was a banner year for you. Lots of decisions. You handled it like a pro and took the bull by the horns. And ultimately, you got us to Sting versus Hogan, so you demand. That was last year. What are you going to do now? Dillon says the last time he and Okerlund were in the ring was the Nitro after Starrcade. And that's when he had to announce the World Heavyweight title would be vacated until the final decision could be made. A choice everyone hated, Okerlund reminds Dillon. Dillon said he and the WCW committee acknowledged the decision sucked, so they tried really, really hard to come up with a fair solution for everyone involved. Says WCW sought outside counsel for this monumental decision. Roddy Piper was brought in. He was the commissioner or whatever the fuck he was. So out comes Piper. Piper says he made the match, so he feels responsible for the clusterfuck that preceded. Says he knows Hogan has more ways to keep himself in the title match than Bill Clinton has alleged girlfriends. Piper brings up Sting, who he says has been gone the entire year. Now he just hangs around and doesn't say anything, but he did hear him burp once. They should really not let Piper do improv. Then Piper mentions Scott Hall, who rightfully earned a title shot. And then he mentions Bischoff for running his stupid fucking mouth. He finally calls all three of them out, that being Sting, Hogan, and Hall. And for some reason, Okerlund and Piper do commentary as Bischoff, Hogan, and Hall come to the ring. And for some other reason, all three men gave no indication that anything was being said about them while they were coming to the ring.
I thought it was pretty funny, yeah, because they were telling him to hurry up. And he's like, you don't have to do your full entrance, but there they are.
Yeah.
Hogan is doing the guitar thing and the pyro's going on.
So Piper addresses Scott Hall as the winner of World War III. Says Hall has worked really hard and truly is the number one contender for the world title. Only problem is we don't have a world champion. You couldn't even get a title shot at the DMV right now, so you're just going to have to take a back seat for a bit. Bischoff and Hall start bitching, but Bischoff remains optimistic that the belt will just be handed over to Hogan. And Piper addresses Hogan. He also has a legitimate claim to the title. Something about a quick count, but Hogan beat Sting clean as day, so I don't know what the fuck he was talking there. In fact, I don't even know why Sting was there, to be honest. Like, you lost. Why are you there?
Well, because they did the quick count thing, which wasn't a quick count.
Brett screwed Hogan, is what happened.
Yeah.
Given that Piper empathizes with Hogan and his plight, and no one can deny Hogan's track record, the only fair and reasonable thing to do for Piper is to put the belt around Hogan's waist right now. Piper takes a half step toward Hogan and blurts out, "Not!" Piper.
The knots. Unfortunately. Not.
Piper says instead, Hogan and Sting are facing at Super Brawl. Doesn't matter if it takes all night, they're fighting until there's a clear champion crowned. Hogan says he's beat Sting twice, so that belt is his, which is 100% true. Sting bows up to Hogan as he's bitching. Hall leaves in disgust, confusing Hogan and Bischoff. Hogan leaves with Bischoff. Hogan screams, "That's my belt! And what's going on with Scott Hall?" Bischoff says, "I don't know, man." Sting does repeated crotch chops to Hogan and Bischoff as they're leaving for some reason. And
Yep.
yeah.
Throwing out that suck it, which really told you that the suck it thing was really catching fire because they're even doing it over in WCW.
It's a weird choice to have Sting of all people do that.
I think he just did it. He thrust it into it too.
His decisions, like screaming Mamacita into the fucking camera and crotch chops for no reason. He's supposed to be a brooding character.
Yeah, is he still in torment?
I don't know.
But I don't know. Winning the world title might take you out of your funk.
And yeah, it sounds like Hall is not happy with Team NWO right now.
Yep, we're getting close to Wolfpack.
Yeah, they did say later that there seems to be factions within the NWO, so they are stepping towards that direction.
Yeah, and I also noticed, maybe it's happened before, but this was the first time I've noticed particularly, that they mentioned Thunder. So they have their second show now.
I didn't even hear that. Well, that makes
they
sense
mentioned-
then with the Scott Steiner stuff.
Yeah, so they have their second show. I didn't watch a lot of Thunder.
I watched the shit out of it.
I remember it was like Thursdays, so I was just not around.
I would tape it and then I'd watch it back. I'd watch all of it. I'd watch the Nitros, I'd watch the Raws, I'd watch the SmackDowns, I'd watch the Thunders.
And yeah, this was like football season.
Mm-hmm.
And around this age, we would have had games Thursdays.
If I could find ECW, I'd watch that too.
I don't know how I watched ECW.
I would find it by luck. It would show up on a weekend at a weird ass time, but it wasn't like every week. It was really weird.
Yeah. And then they got that deal on Spike TV, which was a little bit more normalized. Unfortunately, they didn't come with all the edginess that was ECW.
Well, I don't count that.
They tried, though.
I'm talking about New Jack ECW.
Now I remember I would rent the tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Blockbuster. I'd rent the tapes and watch them that way. So I wasn't like up to date, but I was watching all the pay-per-views.
I think it was impossible to be up to date with ECW.
Yeah, unless you paid for the pay-per-views.
Because
at that time they were like only pay-per-view. You know, they didn't have the weekly TV, so the only way to watch them was pay-per-view. But then I would rent the tapes and be amazed. Oh, they're saying cuss words. The Dudley Boys telling people to blow them.
So Rick Martel and Booker T had a match. Booker made the transition into singles action and won the WCW World Television Championship from Disco Inferno. That was on the December 29th, 1997 episode of Nitro. Knowledge! Starts off with an aggressive lockup. Booker, of course, is bigger, stronger, and younger. Martel looks good for his age and has the experience. Booker T decimates Martel.
Or was he old looking?
He kind of was. Kind of looked like Larry Zbyszko a bit.
At least Vince had something for him. This really looked like Creator Wrestler 17. Like
Martel?
His black trunks, his generic haircut.
I don't know. He looked like Rick Martel to me.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like, if I turned this on if this was my first exposure to him, I would think this is just a jobber.
Fair enough. But keep in mind, at this point, Rick Martel has already been a name in not only the WWF, but he was a name in AEW. He's kind of established.
True.
I see what you're saying, though. Wasn't his trunk sparkly, though? Didn't they have some sparkle?
Yeah, they were like a leather-ish thing.
Okay.
And then they had...
That's something.
There was like a band that was... I think it was like a leopard or something. I don't know. But yeah, I was like, man, he looks so generic.
I don't know. I kind of liked it. I like that he looked like a wrestler. Kind of Zbyszko, too. He just had the Z on his trunks. He didn't have, like, fucking pants that have 40 different logos on it and badass written on his ass, like a tramp stamp.
That's fair.
Booker T decimates Martel with a shoulder tackle, and you can see just by the look on his face that he doesn't expect to break a sweat. It's kind of funny when he broke the original lockup, he just kind of looked around at the crowd like, this is it? They chain wrestle.
A little cocky.
Yeah, he was. It was great. Booker's great.
He definitely is.
They chain wrestle for a bit. Martel catches Booker with a roll-up, and you can see a tiny bit of Booker's confidence shatter. Not much, but just a little bit. They trade arm locks. Martel ends up flipping over Booker and tries to roll up again. Booker blocks it and lays Martel out with a clothesline. Martel goes for a suplex. Booker blocks it. Booker attempts an elbow drop. Martel rolls out of the way. Booker does a spin-a-rooney to his feet and scissor kicks Martel. And it was interesting because it took Martel just as long to get to his feet the normal way as it did for Booker to do the spinner Rooney to get to his feet. So explain that to me.
I couldn't.
Martel gets Booker in the corner, then hits a flying clothesline from the middle turnbuckle. Booker cuts Martel off with another kick. Martel tries to leapfrog over Booker and ends up getting headbutted in the dick. Martel looked like an idiot. Booker's beside himself, goes to check on Martel. Martel ends up snatching Booker and beats the shit out of him. Prick. This man was so arrogant to start the match. He headbutts you in the dick. He checks to see if you're okay, and then you're just going to cheap shot him. Martel starts working on Booker's back, hits a gut wrench suplex and a spine buster. He's softening him up for his Quebec crab. Booker tries to fight out a couple times, but Martel cuts him off. Just continues to batter Booker T's back. Martel gets Booker in an abdominal stretch. Booker fights out of it, starts laying into Martel. Booker whips Martel in the ropes and goes for a drop kick. Martel holds the ropes, and Booker's ass just crashes to the mat. Martel gets Booker in the Quebec crab. He deliberately rolled Booker towards the ropes. Booker barely had to stretch his hand out to grab the top rope to break the hold. Shivani acted like it was the most dramatic submission struggle he's ever seen in his life. Heenan said, "I really thought Booker T was going to tap." Again, Booker T barely had to stretch his arm out to reach the bottom rope.
Bad positioning for such a event. And it was funny that Booker T was like straight. And they mentioned it to ease the pressure. He's not bending his knees. So it's just like a straight Boston crab.
Really weird. So despite being 100 years old, Martel thinks a rope break means he won the match. Maybe that was the rules back in the 1800s. I don't know. But Martel goes to whip Booker's ass. Booker said, "No, sir," and whips Martel's ass instead. Booker T hits a scissor kick to the back of Martel's head, and then nails him with a sidewalk slam. Goes to raise the roof, then hits the weirdest looking Harlem hangover I've ever seen. 1, 2, 3. And then both men raise each other's arms after the match as a sign of respect. And out comes Saturn out of nowhere to beat the fuck out of Martel until Booker T runs him off. And Saturn walks off screaming, "Yeah, Martel, stooge! You want to stooge me?" Really should have told Saturn not to talk. Kind of a waste.
That's why he's going to get his ass in that dress.
True. Got the "what are you looking at" t-shirt. Stooge.
I don't know what was worse, how Vince treated Saturn or how WCW treated Tank Abbott.
Ooh.
Because remember, he pretty much got the Saturn treatment.
Abbott didn't have to wear a dress, though.
That's true.
Although he did have to publicly dance to that fucking boy band.
Yeah.
Saturn won matches. Like, he became a badass in the dress.
Yeah, but he's only in a dress.
Yeah, that's true. I don't care if you're undefeated. That might be a poll question.
It is. When we get to Tank Abbott, we'll definitely have to put that out. But I did like this match. I like when they work the part, they're softening up for the move that they're going to do. So, like, he's working the lower back.
Everything Martel did was back-related offense.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think there was a single move that Martel gave to Booker that was not, in some way, shape, or form, leading up to the Quebec crab.
Yeah. So that's just something like the veterans do.
I like that Martel was a wrestler, just old school wrestler. And I like that Booker hung with him. I don't know, it's hard to find flaws with this match.
Yeah, they did a good job.
I believe this turns into a kind of a feud too. Which, shit, I mean, your first singles feud is with Rick Martel.
Yeah, be something.
And yeah, Booker T held his own. Do you know what happened to Stevie?
I don't.
Looks like he's not missing him too much.
Yep, this is the rise of Booker T.
Before G.I. Bro.
Yeah.
Scott Hall versus Larry Zbyszko. So some fat guy chases after Hall during his entrance. Turns out to be Louis Spicolli. I don't remember him at all.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Like, I remember vaguely seeing him, and I remember the name, but I don't remember anything he's done. So Zbyszko comes out, he stops, and then he points to the commentary desk. Then you hear Dusty say, "Boys, I got some business to take care of." Then you see Dusty stand up in the background and walk over to Zbyszko. Starts off with Zbyszko just out wrestling the shit out of Hall while Dusty talks shit on the floor. At one point, Dusty instructed Zbyszko to rip off Hall's arm. Zbyszko and Hall go to lock hands, and Zbyszko ends up slapping Hall in the face. Then he gets Hall in an abdominal stretch. Hall fights out of it, gets a few shots in. Then he goes for an abdominal stretch of his own, but Zbyszko reverses it into an abdominal stretch again. Zbyszko starts out wrestling Hall some more, does a waist lock takedown and a front face lock. Hall knocks Zbyszko into the apron with a right hook, starts choking him with his foot. Spicoli gets a cheap shot in while Hall's getting yelled at by the ref. Dream dance walks over to Spicoli. He ran to the other side of the ring. Meanwhile, Hall's taking advantage of the cheap shot by beating Zbyszko's ass. Fans start chanting, Larry, Larry, Larry. Hall continues to whip Zbyszko's ass. Fans start chanting, Larry sucks, Larry sucks, Larry sucks. Then the fans start chanting, Hall sucks, Hall sucks, Hall sucks. It's a nice little moment. Hall does a fallaway slam, then signals for the Razor's Edge. Zbyszko counters the Razor's Edge with a back body drop and starts beating the shit out of Hall in the corner. Ref backs Zbyszko up. Zbyszko starts shoving the ref. Hall comes in from behind and takes Zbyszko out with a clothesline. That doesn't stop Zbyszko, though, because he goes back to beating the shit out of Hall in the corner again. Ref backs up Zbyszko, goes to check on Hall. Zbyszko ends up giving the ref an old man spin kick, so he's out. Hall decks Zbyszko with a clothesline. Then Hall and Spicoli go to make sure the referee's okay. Zbyszko decides to play possum. Hall, after reviving the referee, snatches Zbyszko, and he gets locked in a guillotine choke. Spicoli comes in and clocks Zbyszko in the back of the head. Dusty comes in and beats the fuck out of Spicoli. He hits like 3 atomic elbow drops and knocks him out of the ring. Zbyszko holds up Hall for Dusty to get a shot in. Dusty ends up hitting Zbyszko with the atomic elbow. Hall then points to Dusty. Dusty starts taking off his shirt. Thankfully, he has an NWO shirt underneath. Dusty then nails Zbyszko with an elbow drop while Shivani and Heenan cry. Hall drags Zbyszko in the middle of the ring. Spicoli and Dusty do the NWO finger kiss thing, which is really weird because he just thoroughly got his ass beat not 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was like, that was too real, man.
Dusty, Hall, and Spicoli each take turns elbow dropping Zbyszko. Then they put Dusty's WCW hat over his face. And for Zbyszko's sake, I hope the arena had good air conditioning. Otherwise, that hat would have stunk. Hall says into the camera that they gave Zbyszko, that they gave it to Zbyszko Florida style. Dusty says, "That's tradition. WCW, buy this." And after all this horseshit, Zbyszko has announced the winner. And I guess the commentary team sold it well. Might be the only positive thing I have to say about this.
Yeah, they did sell it well. And I also caught that when Zbyszko came out, they tweaked his thing now. So it used to be he's competed in over 5,000 matches. Now he's won over 5,000 matches. So I noticed that they made that little tweak. I guess competing in 5,000 matches wasn't impressive enough.
No, you got to win them all.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about this. With all due respect, Dusty's like 800 pounds here. So I don't know how he's going to help the NWO other than commentate in their favor and maybe, elbow drop people when they're already knocked out.
I was actually surprised that he was dropping the elbows. Like, dropping the elbows, not doing the bionic elbow.
Yeah.
Actually dropping
Oh, that's
them.
what it is, bionic elbow.
Yeah. I was surprised when he was actually, like, hitting the mat. Because it didn't look like...
He was going to get up?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then Hall didn't seem too pissed off about what happened with the J.J. Dillon shit. So I guess he got over it quick.
Yeah, I mean, what's he going to do?
I don't know. Giant threw a fit for weeks. Then he quit. And then became champion, I think.
Yeah, I think that was his first title run.
Buff Bagwell's...
I don't have much to add to this match, to be honest.
Well, Buff Bagwell, Scott Norton, and Conan versus Ray Traylor and the Steiner brothers in a 6-man tag. There was a fan sign that said, "Barf Bagwell makes me sick." I laughed. So the commentary team boo-hooed for a long-ass time over Dusty. Shivani had to walk away. Heenan was in hushed tones. They had to get Tanay in. Shivani snapped at Heenan, told him, "Shut up. Will you shut up?" And Heenan's like, "Well, I got a job to do still." It was good. I mean, if they would have had the same energy when Bischoff did it, it was like, it's Dusty.
Well, they played it that was like Tony's mentor, essentially.
Yeah, but what's Dusty gonna do?
I don't remember what he does.
He just stands and talks shit and wears a cowboy hat. I think he has a sleeveless NWO shirt. Why, I don't know, but he does.
Now that I do remember, the sleeveless
Yeah,
NWO shirt.
with the
Like that was the part that stuck out to me, and his white ass arms.
Meanwhile, there's a match. Looks like Rick and Buff are going to start. Buff starts talking shit to Steiner. Steiner tells Rick to get in the corner. He's got this. Rick then tells Scott, no, you go to the corner. I got this. So I guess we're teasing Trouble in Paradise with the Steiners. Later, we find out that last time they had a match, Scott Steiner was tagged in, and then they never got tagged back in. So Scott Steiner's like the Michael Jordan.
They said he didn't even tag in. Like he
He
started
didn't
the
tag
match.
anybody in, and he just dominated.
I like that little. The strategy usually is for, Scott to start the match and then Rick to get the hot tag, but they switched up their strategy. I don't know why I like that so much. It's like the little detail of tag team wrestling. I was thinking, like, you ain't getting that from, like, the Motor City Machine Guns.
Well, Buff starts mocking Rick Steiner's dog barking, and then he goes into the corner so Norton and Conan could rub his head. Buff catches Rick with an arm drag and starts posing. Rick mocks Buff's posing, catches him with a leapfrog, and tosses his ass. Then takes out Conan and Norton. Trailer gets in, beats up Bagwell for a bit, then tags Rick back in. Rick picks Bagwell up, slams him into the turnbuckle. Trailer gets back in, whoops on Bagwell some more. Norton gets tagged in and mauls Trailer until Trailer lays out Norton with a couple right hooks. He decks Bagwell on the floor, tries to take out Conan, but it's blocked. Then Norton snatches Trailer and hits a power slam. Conan gets in, starts stomping on Trailer. Then he mocks Rick's dog bark thing again. Then he pantomimes pissing in Steiner's corner. Norton gets tagged in. He and Trailer double clothesline each other. Trailer finally gets a tag to Rick Steiner. Rick runs wild a little bit until Conan hits him with a DDT. Then on the floor, Scott Steiner chases Virgil back to his corner. Ref gets on the floor and yells at Scott. Scott snatches the ref and screams in his face. Meanwhile, Rick Steiner is getting double teamed by the NWO. That pisses Scott Steiner off even more. NWO just take turns beating the fuck out of Rick Steiner. Scott Steiner moves over to stand next to Ray Trailer so he can get tagged in. They're standing on either side of the ring post, and Scott just gets on Trailer's side. And then he starts getting obnoxious about it. He starts like jumping in front of him and shit. Like, come on, move over.
I really wanted into the match.
He starts climbing over him to get to the other corner. I would have pushed him off. Trailer started yelling at Scott and Hillbilly, like, what, you need to go over there and get up there, and a lot of up bears. Conan gets Rick in a leg lock for a long ass time. Scott Steiner eventually loses patience and beats on Conan until he breaks the hold. NWO, of course, make Rick Steiner pay for it while the ref gets Scott back into his corner. Rick eventually gets thrown in the corner. Trailer pulls Rick out of the way before Conan can double team him with Bagwell. Then Trailer and Scott simultaneously tag Rick Steiner. Trailer ends up getting his ass kicked by Conan. Scott Steiner tosses Norton all around the ring, and ref, he was letting this happen. Then all of a sudden he just gets in Scott's face and says, you're not the legal man. Steiner shoves the ref. Conan gets hit with a dragon suplex, and then Scott goes on the apron. Trailer then finally tags in Scott Steiner. He hits Conan with Steiner's screwdriver 1, 2, 3. After the match, Steiner and Bagwell have a pose off, and then Bagwell whispers something to Scott, and this pisses off Rick and DiBiase.
The catalyst for him joining the NWO can't be that him and Buff Bagwell admire each other's biceps.
It might just
It's gotta be more than that.
I'm Buff. You're Buff. Let's be friends. Dye your hair.
Because, yeah, even as he was leaving, he's like, oh, show me one more time.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening here?
Come on, do it again. And then they wanted to know what that was all about. What was that conversation all about? What you saw?
Yeah, definitely weird, and he wasn't hiding it.
Yeah, so Steiner's getting a big head. Rick and Ray Trailer are kind of tired of it, so they're boxing Scott out. Scott still seems to be good-natured about it. Ray and Rick just seem to be annoyed.
And we're getting close to Big Papa Pump any day now.
Pretty much. I like that Steiner screwdriver.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash versus the Giant. And this is a Giant versus Giant match. Nash comes out with Bischoff and Hogan. Giant comes out with no music, of course. Starts off with Nash getting in Giant's face. Giant shoves Nash. They lock up. It's a stalemate despite Nash grabbing a handful of Giant's hair. Nash gets a side headlock. Giant turns it into a belly to back suplex. Giant hits Nash with an elbow drop, then butt slams Nash in the corner before choking him with his foot. Nash rolls out of the ring, takes a breather. It worked because they locked up again and Nash got the advantage. Does a corner clothesline. Then Giant corner clotheslines Nash and kicks him in the face. Giant starts beating the fuck out of Nash. Nash does an ugly leapfrog over Giant and then starts kicking his ass. Nash dumps Giant out of the ring, but Giant is still on his feet. Then Nash does the ugliest suicide dive. He got caught on the ropes because his tall ass should not be suicide diving.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, he is 7 foot, so why he even tried this though is...
So Nash just clumsily does the suicide jive, and Giant fucking catches Kevin Nash, which was really fucking impressive.
Yeah.
It looked like he was gonna fall, and then Giant just lifted him back up. All strength right there. So yeah, Giant picks him up, rams him in the ring post. Yeah, bull and shoe ugly, but really fucking awesome spot. Giant tosses Nash back in the ring. Hogan cracks Giant in the back with the steel chair when he follows Nash. Hogan celebrates with the fans after, does the little NWO kiss thing. It's kind of funny. It's a very pro NWO crowd.
They're just the cool faction.
Which is impressive because Starrcade just happened. I don't know how anybody can be cool after that. So Nash beats the fuck out of Giant until Giant just shakes it off and levels Nash with a clothesline. Then they big boot each other. Nash starts to do the 10 punches on the ropes. Giant turns it into an inverted atomic drop. Giant starts leveling Nash with clotheslines, then hits a big boot. Giant scoop slams Nash and then signals for the choke slam. Bischoff and Hogan both climb the apron. Ref goes to yell at Hogan. Giant snatches Bischoff and choke slams him. Meanwhile, Nash is handed a decanter of hot coffee that Hogan somehow had.
There are questions on where the hell that came from.
Right? Because he didn't have it when he was coming to the ring. Did Louis Spicoli come from the crowd or something? So Nash splashes the coffee in Giant's face, then punches him in the balls. Hogan was kind enough to hide the decanter, despite the fact that coffee was splashed all over the mat. Nash then sets Giant up for the jackknife. Nash braces himself, lifts the Giant up, if you want to call it that, and then proceeds to drop the Giant straight on the back of his head and neck. Nash wins 1-2-3. Hogan says into the camera that he taught Nash that move. Bischoff is still out, and the medical staff come out to bandage the Giant's eyes, which were decimated from the hot coffee that Hogan somehow had.
And commentary was confused there for a while.
I
thought it was because he got dropped on the back of his head.
Oh, yeah, they were concerned. Because
Yeah.
that motherfucker got dropped on the back of his head and neck. And he was out.
You could tell even Kevin Nash was concerned, too.
Well, yeah, he fucked up. I shouldn't say Nash fucked up. The move got fucked up.
Yeah. And they couldn't reset at that point. It was just like, oh, you got to go down.
It was like he didn't account for Giant's weight, or he got him awkward. I don't know.
It seems like he didn't pop the hips. I am a connoisseur of the powerbomb.
Or maybe the lanky Kevin Nash shouldn't be trying to powerbomb a big-ass Giant.
Oh,
Maybe he
he's
shouldn't
done
be
it before,
suicide
though.
diving. Did he powerbomb the Giant?
Yeah, in War Games.
Okay.
So, I don't know what happened here, but he's definitely done it before. One other time.
Well, that happened. Turns into a program. I think the powerbomb gets outlawed.
From that.
Yeah.
It's weird, because I know Sid comes in later.
So does Mike Awesome.
Mike Awesome. Is he Mike Awesome?
At first. Then he becomes the fat chick Thriller.
Oh my. Mike Awesome was one of my... You don't want to talk about shock. He literally moved like Rey Mysterio, but then also killed people. The match I watched with Mike Awesome, or one of them, and he's powerbombing... he's fighting Dudley outside of the ring through like 3 tables. Because, you know, in ECW they did the stack table thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's powerbombing him through all the tables. And then also doing like springboard moves. Like, golly, he's awesome.
I don't remember too much about him. I remember briefly in WCW. And then didn't he die?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, that being said, it is weird that they outlawed the powerbomb with those two coming in. When
Right.
they're predominantly powerbomb users.
If I remember correctly, Nash would just come in and interrupt matches and powerbomb people and get arrested or fined or some shit.
Oh. So they really turned it into a
Yeah.
good for them.
No, yeah, it was great.
Turn a botch into a story.
Yeah, apparently Giant was completely fine. He was really lucky. I had to watch it a couple times though.
Yeah,
Like how?
he didn't drop him right on the back of his neck.
I was just trying to figure out what happened, and it was on the lift part, but it's like Giant didn't swing correctly or something.
Yeah, like I said, usually they would reset, put him back on the ground, and do it again. But he was so damn big, that was out of the question. So just
When you saw it, he did put him down, and it just happened to be on his neck.
yeah, he was trying, but unavoidable at that point.
Yeah, shit happens. Ric Flair versus Bret Hart. They established pretty early that not only is Bret Hart stronger, he is the much better technical wrestler. Bret gets Flair in a figure four early. Flair grabs the ropes. Bret suplexes Flair from the apron. Bret is so dominant, Flair gets pissed at one point and shoves Bret. Bret shoves Flair to the mat. Flair pops up and shoves Bret again. Then Bret slaps Flair to the mat. Flair takes a breather outside the ring. It doesn't work though, because Bret immediately takes Flair down when he gets back in the ring. Flair gets Bret in the corner and pokes him in the eyes. He starts wailing on Bret with little girly punches, ignoring the ref, yelling at him to use an open fist because it'll look more masculine coming from him that way. Bret locks Flair in a sleeper hold. Flair turns it into a belly back suplex. Flair has the ref check with the timekeeper how much time's left in the match, then kicks Bret right in the dick. Flair hits Bret with a knee drop, then locks in a reverse chin lock. And he used the ropes for leverage, of course. He starts stomping on Bret and just blatantly chokes him. They trade blows in the corner. Bret starts to fire up. Flair cuts Bret off and whips him in the ropes. Bret ends up hitting Flair with a swinging neck breaker. And the way Flair sold it, he was screaming like, "Oh, God, ah!" Bret now back in control, hits Flair with a bulldog, then a leg drop. Then Bret starts softening Flair up for the sharpshooter, working on his leg. Like he does stomps and does a couple of the, where he has his foot hanging on the ropes and does his little ass slam thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bret goes to do the figure four around the ring post, and Flair shoves him into the steel guardrail. And Flair beats Bret's ass on the floor for a minute before tossing him back in the ring. He starts working on Bret's leg, does the lifting knee thing, does some stomps, tries to pull Bret's knee out of its ligament or something. I forgot what they said. Then Bret hits an enziguri. Somehow Flair gets to his feet first and goes for a figure four. Bret counters into a small package. They trade pins, then Bret starts yelling at the ref so Flair can chop him from behind. Flair locks in the figure four. Bret ends up reversing it, causing Flair to break the hold. But Bret's like all kinds of fucked up after this. All the damage that Flair has done to his leg is just starting to take its toll. Flair goes for the top rope so Bret can toss him off. And Flair throws Bret in the corner so Bret can do his turnbuckle bump. And Bret hits Flair with a Russian leg sweep. Flair grabs Bret and chops him in the corner. Then Bret drops the straps, tells Flair to hit him again. Flair does. Flair then tries to break Bret Hart off. Hart snatches Flair and then tries to do the 10 punches in the corner. Flair tries to do an inverted atomic drop. Bret blocks it, headbutts Flair. Bret does his elbow drop, then hits a superplex. And then he locks in the sharpshooter, and Flair taps. And then after the match, Bret writes WCW in the air.
He did it in the sharpshooter, too.
He did.
Call back to him getting fired, if you will.
Yes, it was. It's a good match. It was a Flair match. Did all his highlights. Did most of Bret's highlights, too. The finish kind of seemed sudden to me. I don't know. There's no drama. Like, is Flair going to fight out of the sharpshooter? Can Bret Hart lock him in the sharpshooter?
I mean, I knew it was over because he was in the center of the ring. Yeah, he did tap kind of immediately. But yeah, when I saw Bret getting him in the middle of the ring, it's like, yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I knew that was the finish too. It was just, I don't know, it was superplex, sharpshooter, tap out. WCW.
The best there is, was, and never will be.
That's true.
But yeah, I enjoyed it for the match.
It was really weird that they put a wrestling match in between all this horse shit.
All these shenanigans.
Yeah. They had a straight up wrestling match. Our main event of the evening is Randy Savage versus Luger. And Savage lures Luger to the entrance ramp so Miss Elizabeth can hit him from behind, with her devastating right hook or whatever the fuck she hit him with. She probably just sissy pushed him. Savage throws Luger into the guardrail, sends him back in the ring, then nails Luger with a double axe handle from the top rope. Savage beats Luger's ass. Miss Elizabeth choked Luger from the floor with Savage's bandana. Heenan suggested that Miss Elizabeth needs to be searched. I agreed.
He did throw
Luger,
that out there.
just the way he said it too, we all knew what he meant.
Yeah.
Luger starts to fight back on Savage. Miss Elizabeth grabs Luger's leg. Luger grabs Miss Elizabeth by the hair. Savage hits Luger from behind, sending him out of the ring. Savage hits another double axe handle from the top rope to the floor. Then Miss Elizabeth slaps Luger. Luger bows up to Miss Elizabeth, and Savage attacked him from behind. They fight in the crowd, then fight back to the ring. Luger hits Savage with a flying forearm. Hall comes out with a chair. He's followed by Hogan, who doesn't seem to want Hall out there. Luger hits a power slam, signals for the torture rack. Hall and Hogan bicker on the floor. Hall climbs the apron with the chair. Luger pushes Savage into Hall and gets Savage in the torture rack for the win. NWO comes out, jumps Luger. Sting comes out, beats up the NWO. Luger racks Nash. Sting gets Hogan in the sharpshooter.
And we're off the air. Thank you for watching WCW. We'll see you tomorrow night. I guess I didn't understand. Hogan, he was trying to make Nash not involved, but then immediately after the match, he's like the first one in the ring attacking Luger. Why is he not trying to help? And then, he's immediately attacking after the match.
I don't know.
It makes sense to me.
I have no idea. I have no idea why Hogan would want to stop any of that.
Yeah. Now, they did mention that, there was a little dissension between Hogan and Macho Man. Macho Man cost him a match. I don't know if he cost him a title, but they just said a match.
Well, if it was a Hogan match, it was probably for the title.
Yeah. He does hold that title for, it's already been like a long time. I think there's that one where Luger beat him. Every time he's lost, he's gotten the title right back.
Yep.
Like, by the next pay-per-view, he's champion again.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. It's only been the Luger. Luger beat him, and then, yeah. Well, no, I think the Giant beat him, too.
Yeah, I think Giant beat him as well. And Sting beat him.
But then by the next pay-per-view, he's champion again.
Well, Super Brawl 8 is next. It's in San Francisco, California at the Cow Palace. And the Sting and Hollywood Hogan main event for the WCW title is what we have to look forward to. But yeah, after this, they played up Giant having his neck broken, outlawed the power bomb. I think Nash got suspended. I'm not sure. He certainly got suspended when he started power bombing people. Booker T feuded with Martel. Saturn was involved as well. I think they have a gauntlet match at Super Brawl or something like that.
Should be interesting.
Other shit happens too. But mainly the closure with the World Heavyweight title picture is what we have to look forward to with Super Brawl. But before that, we have WrestleMania 26, which took place on March 28th, 2010 at the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 11 with a non-title match as the main event, which was LT and Bam Bam. And this is the first WrestleMania held in Arizona, and just the third held in an open-air venue, which was WrestleMania 9 and 24. Card consisted of 8 matches, including 3 main event matches, or main matches, or however the fuck they categorize it. Final match on the card was a no disqualification, no count-out match. It was The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Taker's trying to improve his streak to 18-0, while Michaels is forced to retire should he lose the match. The main SmackDown match was the World Heavyweight Championship match between Chris Jericho and Edge. Edge won the 2010 Royal Rumble, so naturally he got his title shot. The Raw's main match was John Cena versus Batista for the WWE Championship. The undercard also includes a no-holds-barred match between Bret Hart and Mr. McMahon. Sure, that'll be a banger. And the 6th annual Money in the Bank ladder match, which happens to be the last contested at WrestleMania before it became a standalone pay-per-view.
Good.
Right? But that is our retro.
Good stuff. Like I said, good pay-per-view there. 100% better than the other one. I'll give him that.
You think it was better than Starrcade?
No, the other sold out.
The other sold out? Oh, yeah, sure.
With the stupid biker chicks. And, yeah.
I'll whisper the answers to you. No one else.
On camera.
Hey,
This
fix
is
the
going to
ugly
make
one.
great television. I'm going to whisper to you.
A away from the audience.
And I'm not going to tell what I said either.
Well, yeah, now that you put it that way, I guess this was miles ahead of last year sold out. Not by much, though. There's a lot of fucking bullshit. Like, Bret Hart and Ric Flair was the only, like, straight match, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans. But that's what they got to do for the NWO, I guess.
That's true.
But if you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments below. If you agree with anything, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Follow us on all the social medias. And until next time, top guys,